questions for the student athletes, please, so we can dismiss them. We have KK, Arnold, and Paige Bueckers. Go ahead.
For both KK and Paige, I mean, it's a heck of a series, and I've often said it really is not a rivalry if UConn's winning all of them. Just how big was this game, and then what kind of did Tennessee do at the end there to just sort of hold y'all off until the final seconds?
Paige, can you start?
Yeah, I think it's always a big game when UConn Tennessee plays, regardless of era, time, where it is. So it's always a big game. And I think, they attacked us really well. They went at us one-on-one and challenged us defensively. And I think that's what cost us the game.
Paige, they really took you out of rhythm there for the first 3 quarters. What were they doing the most to that you felt like was the most challenging to get around until the 4th quarter?
Nothing really. I feel like it was more myself, taking myself out of rhythm. Shots were short. Should have attacked more, got to the free throw line a little bit. Yeah.
You guys got out-rebounded pretty heavily in that 3rd quarter. Just what did they do that made it so difficult for you guys on the boards especially?
They crashed the boards really hard and we didn't box out like we're supposed to, not pushing them back, and they were flying everywhere, not really watching where they went. So yeah, just not boxing out very well.
Paige, I know this is your 5th year. Are you thinking of going pro next year after the season?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Hi. What's the difference playing in Tennessee over all the other rival places, or any of you guys?
I think it's a hostile environment, like here, Notre Dame, South Carolina. Just a very loud crowd, very engaged crowd, and they make it hard to play in.
Paige, what do you just take from this loss? You guys have a quick couple of Big East games before you go back into your non-conference play against South Carolina.
Just how much tougher we have to get, and it shows up in rebounds and on defense, and the differentiation in fouls, free throws attempted. So just how much tougher we have to get.
Anything else for the student athletes? All right, y'all can come down. We'll do questions for Coach. Who wants to start? No questions for Coach? Go ahead.
I know you said earlier this week that you felt like Kim was a hire that was going to stick. Just what are kind of your impressions of her in her first season, especially after going up against her tonight?
Well, watching them, obviously they have a style of play that's a little bit different than what you normally see, and I think anytime you can be different, I think that sets you apart. People have to prepare for you a little bit differently than they do for everybody else. It's unusual for somebody to, sub, 5 players, 4 players at a time, and I think it takes some getting used to, and the way the game is. You have to keep your composure against them, and I think she does a great job of forcing you to adapt to them, and except for a 3-minute or 2-minute stretch there in the 3rd quarter, I thought we handled it great. The pressure wasn't an issue, but that's the beauty of playing like that. Is you just need a couple minute spurt and it can change the game. So certainly it's much more difficult to play down here than it was the last 3 or 4 years. And to win in these environments, you've got to have tough, mature players to be able to handle this.
You said earlier this week that you like having these non-conference games in the middle of your conference season to kind of see how your team kind of compares to other teams outside of your conference? What did you just learn about your team today, this type of loss?
I think, we've talked a lot about, the perception that when we play a really good team on the road, you need contributions from your best players, and it's hard if you don't get that. I thought Sarah and KK were great today. KK learned a lot today. She grew up a lot today. This is Sarah's first environment in a non-conference game like this. She's only a freshman. I thought Aubrey gave us, some great minutes. So I think we found some things that we can build on. The rebounding we knew was going to be a problem. We play with our small lineup so often. So we got to fix that. That's been an ongoing thing all year. Because it was pretty even at halftime. But the bottom line is, we have some players on our team that are supposed to be our best players, and they got to play better. That's all there is to it.
Paige has had trouble getting going, it seems like, in a few of these bigger games now. What do you feel like is kind of the block with her in terms of being able to start as hot as she has in Big East play?
I don't know. I don't know. It's a real kind of conundrum, Paige wants the ball in her hands all the time. Then when they trap her, she don't want the ball in her hands. So now we try to get her moving from, one thing to another, moving without the ball. And, it's so-so. So we've got to come to some sort of definitive thing here, how we're going to handle it. But right now it's not the winning edge for sure. And passing up stuff, like, I don't get it. I really don't.
Coach, this is a really good shooting team, and the 5 of 20 from the arc is surprising from UConn because you shoot so well. Was that misfires by you, Tennessee defense, a mixture of both? What was going on at the arc?
Some of them were probably ill-advised, or rushed. I thought. Like Aubrey's pass to Sarah, that was theoretically a 3-point shot, which I don't know why she even took it, but it ended up being a pass to Sarah for a layup. So some were really ill-advised. I thought most of them, we had pretty good looks at all of them, and we just didn't make them. And we normally do, like you said. When you look at the stat sheet, points from turnovers, 24-19 UConn. Points in the paint, 42-42. Second chance points, 12-11. Fast break points, 26 for UConn, 14 for Tennessee. Bench points, 26 for UConn, 20 for Tennessee. You'd think we won the game, huh? But that's not really, indicative. Stat sheets lie a lot to a lot of people. Because there was big plays that had to be made, big stops that we had to get, big bucket that we have to make, and crucial points of the game, and we didn't make them. And when two good teams are playing, that's the difference maker.
Going back to Big East, this is only her second time playing in this kind of environment, including Notre Dame. What's impressed you the most about her ability to stay poised and to stay just to jump in when you guys need her off the bench with that energy?
Yeah, it's a little bit comforting, I guess, to know that you're bringing someone off the bench that started 30 games or something like that last year and started in a Final Four game. And so it's not just your average bringing somebody off the bench. And so I think she's a starter that just happens to wait before she gets on the court. And she's getting a better feel for herself, what she wants to do. Yeah, there were a couple things she did today that make you scratch your head, but I thought she was the most competitive player for UConn today. And I think that means a lot to her. And I think getting more comfortable making perimeter jump shots, I think will help a lot for her. But I like what I saw out of her tonight.
Here, it's right there.
Geno, you know as well as anybody what these two teams in this series has meant to women's college basketball. Is there something to be said for a team sort of taking its responsibility, making it a rivalry again? And does this maybe add some fire back into a rivalry? I mean, I'm old enough to remember when you guys played twice a year.
Yeah. It ended up being 3 times.
That's right.
A lot of times. Yeah, that's why I don't understand why people booed me when I walked in, man. They should be thanking me for bringing my team back down here after it was missing for so long. God, that's how you treat your friends. I don't know what you do. I do think there was a time when this game meant a lot to a lot of people. The game of women's basketball looked forward to this game. People who weren't women's basketball fans looked forward to this game. The players certainly looked forward to this game. And it took on a life of its own. And like anything else, other people have caught up. There's other big name teams. There's other big name rivalries, as it should be. And I think both UConn and Tennessee kind of laid the groundwork for what's happening today. And so there are more big games. There are more big rivalries. There are more big TV games. And, can this still be one of them? I don't see why not. I would think that those people that enjoy watching good basketball are going to, if all the games are like this with a different ending, I think people will really enjoy watching these games.
Coach, what would you say is the difference in play styles you saw from Tennessee tonight versus Tennessee teams in the past that you've seen?
It's just different. It's a different approach. They're a much more. I think they're in great physical conditioning. I think they play hard. I think being able to sub in and out like that, and that's probably because I'm not sure that there's a big gap. Is there a big gap between like number 2 and 3 and number 8 and 9? So as they mix and match and put people out there, that's different. That's different, and it hasn't been like that. I think we've played them now. This is the 5th time or something since we started back up. So it wasn't like that the other 4 times, for sure. They create a lot more problems for other teams now than they did a few years ago, for sure.
Anything else for Coach? Last one?
Coach, it's one of the old timers around here. Obviously, it's a different series without one of the biggest figures looming over it anymore. When you walk into this building, do you think of some of those past games, some of those past matchups with Pat Summit? Just what is your reaction from walking into this arena now?
Once the boo stop, you mean? No, I've always enjoyed kind of coming down here. I still remember the very first time that we came down here. I think Tennessee had like a 69 game home winning streak or something. and we won, and it meant a lot. You know, it meant a lot to win a game because we weren't UConn basketball yet. You know, we had just won a national championship, and we had just played them in January, March, and then December. You know, 3 times in less than 12 months. That doesn't usually happen, you know. So I remember the first one for sure. I remember a couple when you looked out on the floor and there was, you know, 5 or 6 or 7 future Hall of Famers out there playing. You know, it just had a lot to it. And I know that the players looked forward to it. The intensity of the games is what I remember. The intensity of the games. It was way different than any other game that you played. You know, it felt like every time we played, it felt like a national championship game. You know, and every time we played them, it's like 1 versus 2, 2 versus 3. It's an NCAA tournament game. It's a national championship game. Like every game meant something. So that's probably unique in itself. That doesn't happen anymore.
Quick follow-up. Kim Caldwell was in high school with these games that you're talking about.
Yeah, you remind me of that, huh? Yeah.
And she was talking about how they all talked about it at school, and it was the talk, everybody, you know,
Yeah.
guys, girls,
Yeah.
everybody wanted to talk about the game. This was her first, you know, time to coach in it, which, if you don't mind sharing, y'all spoke before the game.
Yeah.
What kind of did y'all say there?
I really first met her at the Barclays event that we had in New York, and then been watching. I think stepping into a situation like this, stepping into this program when you're a young coach that's never coached Division I can't be the easiest thing in the world. And I just wanted to remind her that watching from afar, I can see the difference. And I can see the impact that she's had. And I just wanted to let her know that I noticed that.
All right, thanks, Coach. Thank you.
And she should have stayed home to care for her baby.